Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Ireland Rugby Social with Gavin Andrews and Conor Murray. Very soon Conor's going to do these introductions.
Yeah, 3 more episodes time I'll do it, yeah.
As he starts getting
But
more
for now,
comfortable.
you take it away.
Yeah. And our guest today is one of your good mates,
It is.
a Munster legend who happens to be from Leinster, which was news to me today, Andrew Conway.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that. I had you down the whole career as Munster in Ireland.
Okay,
Really-
I'll
really
take
bought
that
into
as
it,
a
didn't you?
compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't get away with that down there. I was very much had the piss taken out of me constantly from my accent from various
Yeah,
sources.
the accent hasn't gone anywhere either.
Yeah, it's gone.
Still-
It's back.
Since you moved back, yeah.
It's a very Black Rock, would that be the
Black Rock,
background?
correct? Yeah.
So tell us about that background and how you ended up down at Munster, because it's not a traditional route, to be fair.
Yeah. She's gone back. One of my best pals in school, they were from Cork. The family was from Cork, and we used to go over to some of the Munster games, when I was 14, 15. And then when I left school, I think there was some knowledge that I had some sort of connection to Munster, so I was asked to go down to have a look to go into the academy. And I went down one of the days. It was the last.
Ospreys game.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Were you in that room?
I was in the room, yeah. I remember it.
Yeah, do you know what? The only person.
Superstar schools player was coming down to have a look.
Yeah,
So we were
yeah.
all told to behave. Like,
Yeah, well, that you didn't.
Speak clearly so we understand you.
Yeah. But so went down. My dad got shown around UL, drove into Thomond. In all their wisdom, they brought me into the box where the academy lads were on their end of year
season.
piss up, and of course, your man, 17 at the time, was coming down, had a bit of a reputation, and on entry to the room, I felt like just daggers coming out of people's eyes. And I always remember, I remember Ronan O'Mahony, who would have played the same position as me, and I've said this to him in the past. There was like that feeling of entering that room, the deal was off. You know what I mean? It was just
Not a good bit of
It
business.
wasn't the smartest thing to do. Do you know what? I think it was. I believe most things happen for a reason, and it wasn't the right time. I was too young. I was 17. I was, a young 17-year-old. I had a lot of growing up to do, and I think if I moved down then, I don't know where. I certainly wouldn't be sitting in front of you, fine lads, today.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
did
give
have
us
a lot
your
of growth,
take.
didn't you?
Give us your perspective on that.
Yeah, but he's right. We were having our end of season piss up in the
One of the
a
boxes.
box in
Yeah.
Thomond Park for the Munster were playing Ospreys, but they had already won the league, so they were getting the trophy. So it was just like a party atmosphere, and we were given like a free bar. Andrew was coming down and welcome him and be nice to him, and he's obviously a school superstar, so it'd be great to get him. And I think we did the opposite, didn't we? I can't really remember.
Yeah. No one went out of their way to do the opposite, but you get a feeling. You can read it.
You're a good energy reader.
Yeah. I've always been. Yeah.
The gut said no.
Yeah.
No.
No, thank you. Not for now.
It's a full tumbleweed.
Yeah. So anyway, went,
got there.
stayed in, signed for Leinster, went into the academy, did 3 years with the senior team there, and then Munster came knocking again. And, logically it didn't make that much sense. On paper, Leinster were the coming force. Even, there's a kind of perception that I was going to Munster to get game time, which, just Zebo, Earlsey, Felix, Doug Howlett were my competition, and I was, maybe played 30, 35 times for Leinster at the time, so I certainly wasn't going down with, my name on the number 14 or 11 jersey. And yeah, went down just turning 22, and professionally best decision I ever made.
You didn't need to leave
No.
Leinster at the time, did you? Like you were playing regularly.
Yeah.
There was a route, so probably
Yeah.
raised a few eyebrows.
Well,
didn't
yeah.
it,
Well, I was actually
for
on.
that?
It was on. You probably didn't. Did you ever do the 1+1s? The 1+1 year contracts.
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them? Yeah.
Golden Boy didn't have
Yeah. So the 1+1s, to inform you, where it essentially gave the club the ability to out after the end of the first year.
Yeah.
So I was on a 1+1, and again, logically it didn't make sense, but as we'll probably get into over time, I'd very much trust my intuition, trust my gut. And again, once the option came up, I just felt it was the right thing, even though it was a hard thing to do, because it was, annoying a lot of people. And Joe Schmidt was a coach at the time, and they did want to hang on to me. So I had to have a few hard conversations. And but yeah, it's
Forgot about
a
that.
long
Joe
time
was
ago,
the
yeah.
coach as well. So Joe's a hard man to have a conversation with. The best of times, for a decision like that, I can imagine was a toughie.
Well, what happened was
Scare you
I
into
had
staying.
signed. I think it was maybe a Thursday. I'd signed the contract. Your agent gets it sent out. You go over, you sign it, and Joe had said to me, Joe had rang me the day that I signed it, literally I'd say an hour after I'd signed it, being like, listen, don't sign the contract. I want you to come in to talk to me on Saturday. And I said, I didn't have the forethought to say I've already signed it. I just said, yeah, grand. You know, like I didn't think anything of it. So anyway, Friday came and I went over to London to go to a football match with my mates. Came back the worst for wear. I could barely speak. Voice was gone. So I was heading into Joe.
So you did have a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah, exactly. I was going into Joe on the Saturday morning. The night before the Friday night, my agent gets on to me and says, by the way, Jerry Thornley knows he signed for Munster. He's going to write about it in the paper in the morning. I was like, I'm going into Joe, you know, in 12 hours.
And Joe would get ahead of the media stuff as well. He'd be out of bed and he'd know what's been written.
I went in anyway and got the head eaten off me. And then a few hours later, I found out why he was so annoyed. Johnny Sexton had signed for Racing, and then that was coming out that day. So my news was, you know, small fish
under the carpet.
But he just didn't want another bit of, you know, Munster Leinster thing at the time. So yeah, that was that.
So tell me about Leinster and those days. Who were the guys who were ahead of you? Who were the guys who? Well, I'm not saying, you know, Munster obviously came for you, but something had to make you leave as well.
Yeah. It would have been less the guys that were ahead of me, even though they were far better players than me. I wasn't, you know, at the time I wasn't, or certainly didn't feel like I was playing to a level and I wasn't getting the reward. It was genuinely I needed to go away from the home bubble, the Dublin, South Dublin, you know, I needed to get out there and learn a lot about myself. And, you know, there was guys ahead of me, of course there was. I was starting to make headway into the team, but it wasn't necessarily just about me, the rugby players. I wanted to go out and explore and grow up, you know what I mean? Get out on my own 2 feet, live with lads, you know, get out and, you know, it's 2 hours down the road, but culturally it's quite different, and it wasn't very commonly done. And Felix was the one who'd, you know, trod the path first, and he'd done it really successfully. And again, it was just trusting the instinct, trusting the gut. It's not no negative, you know, implication on Leinster at the time. It was genuinely personal decision to do the right thing by me and take a bit of a punt on it.
You must have been grown up enough to kind of think you needed a change.
Yeah, fair point. Just enough to make the right decision. But, you know, but even the first year, I was all over the shop, you know, out messing, drinking, getting in trouble, you know, doing things I shouldn't have. And, you know, and then I suppose I was very lucky, you know, at the time we had Paulie was the captain, Jerry Flannery, who was left as a player, but he was in and around the group. You know, I would have learned a lot from those two. They would have taken me under their wing and given me a huge amount of time. You know,
guidance, wouldn't it? Like
100%. I go back and think now, like asking Paulie, you know, can I meet you on a Wednesday for a coffee? Like blissful ignorance of a 22, 23-year-old, not realising Paulie has 2 kids. The last thing he needs to do is be meeting me for a coffee on a day off or stay behind after training. He'd give you every ounce of himself, you know. So I was ready to, without them being official mentors per se, I was ready to watch and learn and take bits and pieces from different characters while standing on my own 2 feet away from the home comforts, if that makes sense.
And how was the reception from Mr. Murray second time round after the death stares first time round?
The death stares. Well, our first interaction was, correct me if I'm wrong, was the Gary Owen and Blackrock game in the IL. You remember this?
A few years before.
Yeah, and Blackrock came down the road and they were like, you were stacked. You were like, you'd Madigan, you'd Dave Moore, scrum half, like stacked full of Leinster schoolboy superstars. And 40 points down, bit of a scuffle, and it was in a scrum. So Andrew was at the far wing.
Is it the blindside wing?
Yeah, the blindside wing maybe.
Yeah.
We'll say it for the story. And obviously getting involved in the scuffle because you're with your forwards, and then he trots over like big push in the back. And
in the front.
This is where I push in the back. This
would
be a running team. And I looked down, and it was like, check the scoreboard, mate, in his proper Dublin accent. It was like, hammered us. And then it was a few months after that. Was it you were announced down?
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say the same here.
And I had this in my head still. And Niall O'Donovan, our manager at the time, goes, oh, lads, anyone who, in the team meeting in Munster, anyone who has rooms free in their house, you know, Andrew's signed, so we're looking to house him for, you know, until he gets in his 2 feet. And I had just bought a house, like it was, I think it was a 4-bed, and it was just me in there. And I was like, nope, no way.
No
so,
You and
my
everyone
own
else.
fault.
You and everyone else, by the way.
yeah. I was spreading like you don't want this. He is a, you know what I mean. So slow start, but
Slow start.
So it was frosty enough second time round.
Well, I was probably blissful ignorance. Here. You know, I wasn't.
The arrogance blinded him.
Oh, he was welcome with open arms.
Didn't you know? There's enough going on for you when you first meet. I'll never forget the first day. Honestly, we were down in Cork. You lads were probably still away. You were on the lines. Was it 2013? Was so it was down in CIT, and I knew very few people. I remember just sitting there and like I wouldn't be overly social or like, you know, just jump into people I don't know and be able to chit chat away. I kind of just be like, oh God, I'll keep the head down here. I remember sitting down and just, you know, the odd person would come over and chit chat to me, but then be like, your man's not giving me anything back, so I'll head off. And just going, oh, I've made a big mistake.
Was there from
yeah,
the start?
just the first
betting
day,
in.
you know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
I think I was living with Johnny Keats at the time, but like I was on a timer there, based on Johnny, you know, not wanting to live with Johnny Murphy, didn't want to live.
Oh
with
yeah,
his
they
competition.
did. Frosty, yeah.
So no one
that's
would let me in the house, any type of house. So I'm there looking. I'm going.
It wasn't that bad. Well, maybe. Fair enough.
I'm there looking, going across to, you know, don't really know the layout of Limerick. I was thinking get an apartment in town, and I think Ian Keatley had heard that I was looking to do that, so it said, listen, I'll ask Johnny, can you come live with us? Felix had just moved out. So then I get word that Johnny wasn't keen because I was going to be, you know, his competition. But anyway, they give me the box room I was on a 6 week box
Were you
room
on a trial?
Huh?
Were you on a trial in the box room?
I was on, well, not even a trial. It was
Just 6 weeks and that's
like
it?
6 weeks.
Oh, sorry.
Find your feet.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah. It's all coming out now. Oh, you bet you wish you didn't invite me into that now.
Munster teammates are brilliant.
And anyway, me and Johnny got on like a house on fire immediately. And within a few weeks, I was sitting in the bed. He came in. He goes, you know, you can stay for the year. I said, I thought so. Yeah.
That house was unreal. And
Yeah.
You, Johnny, Felix, and
Yeah.
Keats.
Well, Felix was gone.
Felix is gone.
Yeah.
But it was the epicenter of like
Yeah, it was a good
all the
spot.
lads who lived around Limerick, and like any crack going on would be be in that house.
And you're the rock star right back from the Lions, and then you kind of patch it up, do you, at that point?
Yeah, no, it's from the off really. Once you spend time together, like I think it was more perception thing, and the shove in the back did turn that shit a little bit. But
what I thought you were going to say there, Blackrock Aaron, there's a great picture I actually posted on my Instagram a good while ago of me carrying and about 6 Gary on fellas hanging on to me. His mug is closest, like grimacing, he can't do anything.
I know, the long hair, yeah. So shaky start, but
We're going to have to dig that out for the
Yeah.
I'm sure he has it. Yeah, it's in his favourites in his phone, obviously.
When did it start clicking then on the pitch? When did you kind of feel like you were at home properly?
The very end of that first year, I think I came off the bench against Glasgow in a semi-final. Was it? Or no, just before that we played a few leading into the knockouts, and I was actually fully fit. I wasn't carrying niggles, and it does take time when you go somewhere new, even though you're doing your best, you're training. There's just this like an environmental gap that takes a bit of, you know, I don't know. It's you know, it's hard to put your finger on, but you would see that, you know, some people can jump in, say like a Tom Farrell this year at Munster. It kind of seems like it either goes amazingly because it's so nice to have a fresh start, or it's a bit clunky. You know what I mean? And you take a bit of time. So probably by the back end of that year, I was starting to gather a small bit of momentum. But the funny thing is, you know, it's the naivety of youth. I was 22 now at this stage, signing from
Still grown up.
Leinster. You know, on a 2-year contract, you know, it never once crossed my mind, if the first year and a half doesn't go well, you're gone.
I'm going to end up in Ulster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're doing the full loop.
Yeah, in the the country.
But that's only with the, you know, a bit of maturity and hindsight that you don't, you know, you look at the risks for what they were, but at the time it doesn't even cross your head that it's not going to go well, you know.
It's only when you're older you feel like you're mid to late 20s, you're like, I'm trying to plan, responsibilities are coming in, whereas when you're younger, it's like there'll be another contract.
Exactly.
It's not I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know what word you put on it, but you're just not aware.
Yeah, it's the fearlessness of youth.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good thing. It's a double-edged sword. It can be bad, but you know, more often than not, it can work out. It can work its way out. You know.
It was kind of different for you though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. No, I was very lucky. Like we have a gag, I heard joke about the keys of Dublin, isn't there? The keys of the Conway. Growing up now, school superstar. Didn't like you were obviously, but you had like. Did you have like people outside your house singing songs too? You did.
Yeah.
That's how big schools rugby is, and he was that. And then in school, wasn't that at all. It was a very late bloomer, and then we have a joke that when he came down to Munster, we swapped. He gave me the keys of the city or whatever, and then it went easy for me for a while.
Yeah.
But trust me, it comes back and gets you eventually. Gets everyone.
And if you're a legend in Blackrock, now that's Brian O'Driscoll territory. If you're one of the big names down there, that is right up.
Yeah, but is there anything worse than being, you know, a legend of schools and then a complete flop as a professional? Like that's the ground you're flirting with. So, you know, very nearly was that kind of typical case of big expectations and none of them met. And to not because of a big injury that took me out because of my own kind of actions and behaviors. So that was like, you know, I wouldn't change it because it gave me a real, I was able to leverage that, you know, for the rest of my career. And I feel like for I think it was in Munster 11 years, for certainly 10 of those, there's very little I change in terms of effort and application. But I wouldn't have probably been able to tap into that as much as I did without the lessons learned from those kind of first 3 years.
Two very different dressing rooms, I imagine. Two very different groups. Kind of Irish legends in both groups at that stage. What was the difference between the Leinster setup and the bubble that you talked about down there as opposed to Wonderboy and the lads in Limerick?
To be honest, yeah, it's hard to remember going, like, you know, I was in that Leinster dressing room 14 years ago, you know, as a 19, 20-year-old. Probably more deer in headlights kind of thing. You know, I always remember I was 18, Leinster were going to play Connacht, and it was Leinster's full team and me. And I was nowhere near, you know, like I was young and expectations, but like, you know, I'd not deserved that jersey by any stretch. I can't remember the nuance to why I was in there, but, you know, if I'm playing 14, who's playing 13? Brian O'Driscoll. And I can still, even when I say it, I can still put myself in that seat in the meeting. Just going, what?
Would your schools, like your head coming out of school, would it not have been like, I'm made for this? Or like was there any effect on you that way? Like, this is just going to be easy going into professional life. Like, this is my path. Like, I'm a superstar here.
Yeah,
because I was never that. So I
think therein lay the problem, though.
Yeah,
I think therein lay the problem. You know, because, you know, what I was doing up to that point was getting me the performances and, you know, whatever accolades and contracts that I was getting. But you soon find out that talent is probably 50% of the deal, is it?
Yeah,
something like that.
Once you learn the ropes.
So yeah, like, and I was, you know, I was under pressure to actually stay back in school because my leaving cert was very, very bad. Very bad.
That's one we can talk.
Yeah, no, we'll say no more.
The bench
I was
press
young for my age, so the principal was mad for me to stay back, but Leinster were mad for me to come into the system there. So I ended up going. Obviously, took the non-educational route, and but my point being, I was young. You know what I mean? I'd just gone 18 in the summer. You're in a dressing room with Brian O'Driscoll and, you know, all the legends that are there. It's very intimidating, and I'm shy enough by nature. And that would have certainly, you know, intensified that because you just can't believe that, you know, you're sitting next to
heroes,
them,
like,
and then you're going out and playing with them. But the key part is I wasn't ready. Do you know what I mean? Some guys are ready and they get in there and they get out there, they perform, they've kind of, they know how to navigate it. I had no clue how to navigate it other than hopefully, you know, I can sidestep someone and make a break. And that was about, you know,
just instinct,
massively leaning on talent and instinct. But sure, it's nowhere near enough.
But there were superstars at Munster, Paulie, and you know, you've mentioned him already. A different kind of leader, though, and even at that stage, seeing a young guy coming up at 22, 23, making the time for you.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
They're incredible at that, weren't they?
Yeah.
Especially Paulie and those lads. Just,
Because you think they wouldn't have to.
Yeah, they don't, and they like. You said Paulie, 2 kids and probably a million things on his plate, like whatever status he had in the game at the time. And like Munster, I don't know what, I can't speak of Leinster, but Munster with those guys, with Fla, with like Marcus Horan, with Raj, they, from a Munster point of view, they just cared so much about Munster that they wanted to continue that, you know, that success or that tradition and how hard people worked. And they probably saw you as a really talented player coming down, and they were like, right, he needs guidance, as we all did, like, you know what I mean? And they were always more than willing to give time to anyone that needed it, or Paul, we used to slag Paulie about it, that if he saw any potential in a player, he'd put his arm around him. But if there was someone who wasn't great, he'd go the other way. But
All the
that's
greats
not
are
true.
like that.
Yeah.
He's kind of a natural coach, I suppose.
Yeah.
So when did it start really firing for you down there, and you started bonding with these lads properly, and some of the good times started
Yeah, I
coming?
was definitely bonding that first year. You know, it was great crack. We had good fun. Rugby started coming together tail end of the year into the following year. And then just took a few years to, you know, like that's probably 23 then.
Yeah, what year? The 2014, the final year was against Glasgow. Was that, were you there then?
I was
that the
there.
Is
that
your
was
first
my
year?
first year. I wasn't
Yeah.
involved. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. And then it was
Rory Scannell on the non-playing bus.
Oh wow, yeah. I was on that
Ouch.
too. Yeah.
Were you not playing?
I was injured for that
Were
one.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. But you say it there that year was like the bedrock of all the social aspects. We had some and really important, like had that bonding time together in that house in Limerick. And at that age, like the bonding is obviously nights out and crack after games, and that's I think was. And then you become more comfortable going in on a Monday. Genuinely after having a Saturday night out with the lads, you go in on a Monday and that's the talk and that's the chat, and then all of a sudden it kind of flows. And so we definitely looked after the social side of that.
Yeah,
in the
100%.
first year.
Who was in that group?
Who was in the social group? Everyone was, you know what I mean? It was not, and that's not, you know, everyone was, you know, a big group of 40 friends. That's not how it works, but it felt very open. I remember being in our house one of the days after, I think you had played Perpignan away. Do you remember JJ got that try?
Yeah. Were you at that?
No,
I was at home as well. I think
were you?
I was probably, we were probably watching it in your house.
Yeah. And there was about, I think the whole squad, once they landed back, the whole squad came over and were just drinking away and having the crack.
That was their house. That
was our gas. Yeah. So there was a really good, you know, openness, and everyone was kind of, you know, of course there's, you know, people are better, you know, the Paulies and the Rogers, we pally together. There's different, you know, age groups that have grown up together, and there's guys who are in Ireland camp versus guys who aren't. So you naturally get closer to different people. But there was a good family feel to it, and maybe a bit off point. But I was only speaking to someone about this the other day. I think then, you know, I've now, and Connor will reflect on his career over the next 12, 18 months at different times. You know, looking back on my career, I think I was never able to get the balance right in that first year, or say with the Leinster years, part of the crack, you know, in Coppers till 7 in the morning with like the messes of the Leinster team, up drinking with the Munster boys, you know, last to leave kind of thing. And then I flipped it on its head and was like ultra disciplined, you know, very deliberate with, you know, exactly what I was doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, but wasn't able to incorporate that kind of social family feel that creates a great team. You know what I mean?
So you were one extreme or the other.
I was one extreme or the other. Yeah. And I wasn't, and not that I was even totally aware of it.
You're so focused on what you're trying to do.
That I couldn't get that. I couldn't just dip in and out as was, you know, necessary. Because even I was watching a documentary, I don't know if you've watched it, the Dallas Cowboys one on Netflix. It's a great watch. But they talk about, you know, there's, you know, and obviously these productions are dramatized, of course they are, but they did seem like they were an incredibly close group of players, and I think that's what makes great teams. You know, when it gets tough and you go in those really tough matches, there is something there that, you know, it's not just the trenches on the field, but it's the trenches off the field that count. And bit of a sidebar, but that was just something that had come up recently for me.
The impression of Munster from the outside would be that the players are incredibly tight, because you could see the way they fought on the pitch and have done for 20, 30 years. And even the legendary stories of the big wins against the All Blacks and stuff, it was all about the Munster tightness.
I so you'd be able to talk about it more, but growing up in that environment is special, and you see when people come from the outside and they do come in, that it is really what you were talking about, being able to, you know, tough times off the pitch, you fall back on each other and you really genuinely have each other. I think that was there, especially over the last, towards the tail end of my career in Munster. Like we relied on that heavily as a group of players to be like, right, stuff is happening and stuff is kicking off. We have ourselves here, and like, kind of like no one's going to get out of here, get this situation kind of corrected, only us in this room. And that's a real something that kind of, whenever my contract came up to like the option of leaving, like that never really came into my head, because the group we had in Munster, and like you ended up having a big circle of really close friends. I think our age profile was quite similar as well. And that big, we ended up being the core of the Munster team. Well, you still had the Paulies and Rogers coming to the tail end, and you still had the young fellas. We had this this solid crew, and it's what we saw. It's what we learned about when we grew up. We saw the Marxes, the Flas, Paulies, and how tight they were. We were educated by them. We grew up watching Munster, and then I don't think you've any other choice but to continue on. So it is true. Munster players are more often not very tight.
And it works in cycles as well, the kind of the players that we, you wouldn't tend to mention as much in things like this. Like we would have lost, Dave Foley, who's a great friend of ours, Duncan Casey, who's a great friend of ours, Mick Sherry, who's a great friend of ours, the two O'Mahonys, who are very close to everyone in the squad,
Johnny, who you had amazing days out with as well.
Before some years you might go, the squad might be very consistent for a couple of years, and then maybe once every 3 or 4 years you might lose 10 guys who are maybe on the outskirts, and Ivan Deneen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
they're a big part of the group.
There's a shift in dynamic then, and it's how quickly are the young guys going to fill that void? How accepting are the old guard going to be of those young boys? So there's the longer the career you have, the more moving parts, and then more shifts that you're kind of,
because you get comfortable with your crew. But then I saw those end of year saying goodbye to those players retiring, we just hate them. They were because it's a big chunk of your social life, your friends, and then selfishly you want that to remain the same for your whole career, and that's your little safe space. But then you have some lads go, and then you have young lads coming in, and you kind of have to be willing to open up for new friendships and kind of do what Paulie and them did about setting the standard, not educating them, but you know what I mean, and then seeing a new group form, and then it's cyclical, isn't it? Like you said,
it's 100%.
So it's hard.
That point about getting the balance right, about maybe being a bit loose when you were younger, and then maybe going to the other extreme. But after that, of course, Ireland come calling. So does that coincide, the being disciplined coincide with the standard of your rugby going up, and then an Ireland coming as well?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I wasn't...
You trade those nights out for Ireland?
Listen, 100%. You would. Of course you would. And, it's not to say that there weren't many, wild nights in between, from 11 years ago.
He was still able to dip his toe into the social scene.
I'm wired to go hard. I'm sick as a dog. Exactly. No way that happens. And it was, I'm sure it was a long shot, back three player, been around a bit, hasn't really shown much, always a good few guys coming up through
probably for back threes is probably your point there. You kind of have to get in early, don't you? As a general, yes. But that's probably your fear, is that you're just thinking back, all those back three players get in early.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I got into an Irish squad, one of the Six Nations at the back end, and that was a big deal. And then I was maybe going to go on a South Africa tour, but I did my knee, but I probably wasn't realistically, but Joe was kind of keeping me warm. And then the next Six Nations, I was in the squad from the start, and I'd been playing, it was the best rugby I played in a long time. I could
16
17
so you missed the tour to South Africa in 16 summer.
Exactly. And I knew I was consistently now performing for Munster against the big opposition, but still, the names in front of me would have been Earl Z. I think Trimble was in there, Tommy Bowe was in there, can't remember who else, but very, very established players. And I think it was the fourth round of the 2017 Six Nations. We were playing Wales away, and Joe had said to me something along the lines that I'm likely going to be involved in the 23, but he was doing the thing where he names the 15 and then names the bench at the latest possible opportunity.
Yeah, that was torture. Yeah.
Anyway, that day went out, got a whack of a shoulder off one of the lads in a really non-contact drill, banging the head out that week. I remember...
He remembers the name, I'd say. Who was it? Do you remember who it was?
I can't remember who it was, but sure, it was banging the head.
Oh, sorry. Thought you had some hatred there for someone.
Wasn't you pushing him in the back? No revenge?
No. That'll come.
And anyway, so I remember I was really emotional because Joe, without guaranteeing it for me, had told me in as many words, and left camp. I was, went down, myself and my missus went down to Kerry for a night. I was I was under the impression that the universe is just telling me it's not, no, you know what I mean? You've tried really hard, but no. Anyway, we were down watching the match, see Tommy Bowe break his leg quite badly and get carted off. I was like, interesting. I was slagging Tommy about this recently.
What year? I'm just struggling for year. It was
2017. So I'll put it together for you next. Next year.
Did he break his?
You got a whack. Do you remember?
That was my neck. Yeah, that was my neck.
You were trying to pass it.
The fish arm came out. Yeah.
So anyway, sitting down and carrying my missus, game's over. about 30 minutes after the final whistle, phone rings and it's Kieran Cosgrave, the doctor. So, you know, you're around long enough to put two and two together where Joe Schmidt says to Kieran Cosgrave, ring him and see who he was. Yeah. So rings me.
Put down the champagne and
get out of my bathrobe.
He was down. I know exactly what hotel you were as well. You were definitely in a bathrobe. Go on.
Oh dear.
So go back up. Still a bit it was England the following week, so they were going for
Grand Slam, weren't they?
They're going Grand. It was in Dublin, so Grand Slam and the most consecutive Test wins of all time. So big game for them. And I remember Johnny Sexton actually that week. I've said this to him since, you know, he only used this 2 or 3 times that I was around. Do you remember he used to say the odd time at the start of the week, we cannot lose this week. There was, you know, and that's very contradictory of the process driven, you know, etc.
It can only be pulled out every so often.
You can only pull it out the odd time whenever it's like such an emotionally triggering potential on the other side of a loss.
Yeah.
Which comes with its risk. You know, you could be 12 points down after 10 minutes and go, we certainly can lose today.
We've been there
be
too.
in trouble. Yeah. Anyway, so made my debut that day. Came on off the bench for Earlsey, so played 40 minutes, you know, and again, it's all these things. I wouldn't change any of it, you know, coming back. Of course, I would have loved to play the Wales game the week before, but ultimately I got to play in, you know, a very memorable match with, you know, a lot on the line for my first, and it's a great memory, you know.
Massive pressure, though.
Yeah,
not least Johnny saying can't lose.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But
you can imagine Johnny that week as well, especially being a winger, probably, like if you're not ready for a cross kick in training, like that's a tough week for you.
Yeah, do you know what, when you know, like you've more things to worry about than Johnny Sexton staring at you on those weeks,
which is rare, which is hard.
Yeah, exactly.
I found it very hard.
You know what, there's so much going on. Am I going to get on? Are we going to win? You know, if I do get on, am I going to, you know, mess up? You know, so there's just so many things going through your head that, you know, you just hope that if you get 2 minutes and we win the match, you know, I'll take that. I'll
you just want to get through without,
exactly,
unharmed, or your reputation still intact.
It's
your first time is
actually had a bit of a little, like, you know, modern day version of fisticuffs with Mike Brown that day.
2 fiery characters together.
I went for, I think they threw a big skip pass and I made a good read on Ben Teo, but you know, when players jump in the air just pre-contact, so my head was already dipped, so I lashed into him. He fell over. It was now, like it would have been a potential yellow card. Back now. But I didn't know what happened because, you know, I'm just, you know, deer in the headlights, so I'm getting up and trying to ruck at Everton.
He's ready for war, like whoever wants it.
I think they knew obviously the whistle had blown, so Mike Brown grabs me, and then I naturally grab him back. Yeah. And I think, you know, just because, you know, it was my first game, it was good for me to even experience that.
You got a good
a bit of confidence from it, even though
reaction from the crowd there as well.
Yeah, even though it's a tiny thing, and in any other match, it's, you know, you don't even think twice about it. It's just a little reference point to go, you know, I wasn't just trying to, you know, hide my way through it. I was happy enough to get into it, you know.
So it's a different jump, a different feeling playing for Ireland.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. And I think for whatever reason, I kind of thrived more so, I would say, on reflection in an Ireland jersey than in a Munster jersey. If we're talking about consistently, you know, certainly.
We chatted about that before. Yeah, I've similar feelings too. Yeah, don't know what it was. I wish I could, because you've said it, and I've thought it as well about myself. Like for Ireland, it was, I don't know, the pressure of it was more so. Not that it meant more to you, like you're from the province and you were adopted by the province as well. I don't know what reason you'd have to get into the sports side of it. That I don't know, the prep or the fear of failure was bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to nail it.
But it's interesting in terms of performance, where some players can deal with that and some crumble. Probably all incredibly talented players can't deal with it. Is it just inside you or it's not?
Yeah, I think there's an element to that.
Yeah.
You know, I think for some reason, as you said, you know, pressure, like it either heightens or narrows focus, which is really, really positive in terms of a potential performance, or the pressure, you know, sends your kind of cognitive load all over the shop because of all the potential risk and, you know, the bigger the stage, all the moving parts that come with that. So, listen, everyone's very different, and I think, you know, it's kind of easy to say this now with the benefit of hindsight. Can you put your finger on it during it and make changes? You know, I think the quality of player is obviously important around you. The threat of the opposition is important. Some people, you know, just feel like they have to be on that day because you're marking X or Y.
Yeah.
But then also the quality of coaching, I would say, it makes a huge difference. The clarity of coaching, you know, going in with a very good understanding of a game plan and less, you know, maybe low level conflict about disagreements, because, you know, we would have had, like, you would have had more coaches in Ireland than me, but Joe and Faz, you know, very much you knew where you stood, you knew what you had to do on a given day, and, you know, you had to, particularly with Faz, you had the license to go out and express yourself. But there was maybe just that bit more
comfort in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a bit more conviction in what you were going out to try and do.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, you know, that's all speculation.
You've mentioned the quality of the opposition. Could you pick out maybe the best 3 players on the wing you've come up against?
Yeah. So definitely.
I know who one is going to be.
You know number one?
I know who one of them will be, yeah. Go on. Say.
Okay. The first one is probably a surprise. His name is, I won't say his first name because I'll butcher it, but it's Villiers for France, you know.
The poacher.
Man.
Yeah. He's a Red Scum.
Yeah. So we played against France.
He is a freak.
He's an animal, yeah. Played against France in 2021, I think. And I remember going into that day, like, I felt like I was going to, like, I remember walking in the tunnel, the French fans are, I'm sure you've been there, where they'd be there for, you know, 60,
Carnival,
70 minutes before.
Class.
You're going in and the place is 90% full when you're heading out to have a little stroll around the pitch. I remember particularly thinking that day, I'm going to own this place. Like, there was just, I never think that. I'm like,
this is the Black Rock arrogance now again coming. Well, it comes out every so often.
Yeah. Well, to my detriment,
I'm gonna own it.
I'm better going into.
I've
the ground.
never once played a rugby match where I said I'm going to own this stadium.
Well,
I'll
tell you what,
have it on record.
I'm better off going into a stadium going, get me out of here. I'm not able for this. You know what I mean?
I've seen him on days like that.
Yeah. Like, get me. No, thank you. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, on this day, the opposite is true. And when I tell you, your man Villiers had me in his pocket all day. He ran over me. I thought I was gone. He lashed me into touch. I've never been dominated so clearly by someone. So he's always number one. Anytime I think of, you know, hardest people to mark, you know, that it was one and done. One and done.
Yeah. Number 2 has to be the winger from Cass that time. You remember that?
The big fella. They got the 2 of us.
I love the way Connor knows.
Yeah, no. That's not the one. But as he said, Villiers ran over you. There's another fella who ran over both of us in that casket. Yeah. And you cursed me for I missed. He ran over me first. Bounced me. I forget his name.
He's Tuisova's half brother, I think.
Something. Yeah. He's like, you can imagine this. So he ran over me, and then you were cursing me because that gave him a 30-meter run up at Andrew. There's a clip of it if we can put it in. It's
like I'm
bad
upside down on the ground, legs up in the air.
You need that photo up at home.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think I said sorry to you when we're chasing down the conversion. I was like, sorry about that.
Do you know what? James Lowe, you know, me and James Lowe would have had a good rivalry when we were playing, get on very well now. But before we were teammates, we would have had a lot of, you know, back and forth verbals and, you know, good battles. And, you know, to be fair, he would have more often than not got the better of me. He's a hard man to mark. He's a hard man. He's a seriously good player, I think. And he's gotten so much better over the years because you kind of, we just go tit for tat. You know, he'd run over me or, you know, get an offload and break a defensive line, and then I'd sidestep him. You know, but Leinster would usually come out on the right side of those games. But I always knew I was in for a very hard day against Lowe. Yeah.
Well, that was my obvious next one. The best 3 you've played with. Would he be in there?
Players or back 3 or
players across the board.
Players across
Can't
the
have
board.
him.
Can't have
the
him.
CUA has to be in it.
Well,
that's who I was thinking.
Well, I made a career off this man.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. I made a career off this man.
Very basic game plan.
Yeah.
Kick in the air and he'd catch it.
I'll run like a dog and catch it. You know?
Probably one of my favourite fellas to chase.
Probably
the most favourite fella. Sorry, the most favourite. It's closely followed by Felix Jones, who was another lunatic chasing the ball. But you'd be going down to kick, and then he'd be roaring in your ear, like, just get me in the air for it, just get me, I'll get it back for you. I get him, like,
and how often,
frothing at the mouth.
How often were you working that down in Munster then? Was that a day in, day out?
We got in a really good routine of, like, for 9s and wingers, like, advice for young fellas to work together and get to know your wingers, because
Timing.
Yeah, timing wise, he'd know how far and high I could kick it. I'd know, how quickly he could get there. Rough landing spot. Opposite for someone like Earlsey, who we joke about would get like vertigo or something as he's chasing kicks. He would lose the ball he's retired now, so it doesn't matter. He'd lose the ball in the air, so he'd be telling me just put up like a small one. A small one in his Limerick accent.
Because we all have a small.
Small ones have become popular.
We'd know what he'd be lashing the ball up in the air, and you'd be running and you'd be waiting under it, and but I was telling him I'd like put 75% now. Just give it a 75%.
He got really into the accuracy.
Which to this now, I wasn't wrong, was I?
No, that's
They're the
probably
best ones to
something. The teams we used to play for do now is like put up little 3/4 kicks, and they're easier to get back. Rather
Then
than
one day we were playing Leicester. I think we went out for breakfast that morning. There was a late kick-off, 7:35 on a Saturday, I think. And I'm there in bits, nervous, going, oh God, I feel sick. I can't
there would
eat.
be days where you'd be like, you couldn't talk to them on game days.
Horrible, genuinely, really horrible. And your man is there, spreading butter and getting his hollandaise sauce ready and on his fourth flat white. And he's like, what's the worst that could happen? I was like, don't be saying that now. Anyway, about 8 hours later, we out there. Your man kicks up a kick. It's about 5 meters too long, but I'm still running like a dog after.
Still holds it against me then 5 meters too long.
Go to tackle the 15. Very good feet.
He was unbelievable.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Incredible Leicester back three player. I think Tongan player as well. But anyway, clip my somewhere in the head on the way on impact, and I'm snoozing on the way down. Hands are off.
Fully bad. It was a bad.
But like I'd say, once I came around, one of the first things I thought of was, "What's the worst that could happen?"
And then I was banned from saying that forevermore. And that's where the 3/4 line kicks came in, because if it was a bit long, danger.
Not even I can get some of them.
Scar tissue. But yeah, favourite fella to chase him.
Yeah, so technically you're both in each other's top three then. Anyone else?
Anyone else top three played with? I don't think you can look past Johnny Sexton. Just, an uncomfortable experience to play with him, as is probably well, documented from a lot of people who've played with him.
In what way?
He just his standards,
expectations made you better, but made you uncomfortable.
Made you better, but made you uncomfortable. Exactly. And Johnny would, I remember playing against Wales before, and he threw me an uncatchable pass that was actually forward, and I tried to catch it. It went into touch, and I'm on the ground, and he kind of follows the pass, runs over, and he's just staring at me, and you're like, that was an uncatchable.
Yeah.
But he just, if it was me, or as when I played with Leinster, him and Dricko would be going at it. The face was blank, meaning whoever was getting the raw end of it, it didn't matter. Brian O'Driscoll, Andrew Conway, Conor Murray was totally irrelevant, which I respect. It was, it wasn't a seniority kind of going really hard at young lads because they're not trying hard enough or whatever. It was this raw competitor. Raw competitor. And it's funny, my mates play a 5 or 11 aside on a Tuesday or Thursday now, and they play against Sexton
with him. Apparently
no, against him.
Sorry.
Sexton and Fergus McFadden and Rob Carney, and sure, Johnny's the exact same. I was with one of my mates. He was telling me that Sexton was chasing around the night before. This is like a month ago. He's like, we played against Sexton and the lads last night. It was very, very aggro.
Yeah. Uncomfortable.
And then I bumped into Johnny then in the gym, and I was asking him about it. He's like, oh yeah, geez, no, I always kind of regret that side of things. But sure, once he crosses a white line, it's he's on.
And he does it again,
Yeah.
Even like watching his favourite team, Man United, or like being with him, he's so into sport and being competitive. He's just like no off button. You were saying the look he gave you after that forward pass. Remember we did a leadership course when this team went to play Italy in Chicago, and 8 of us stayed behind or whatever it was, and Johnny, he explained it, that look or that kind of that aggression towards the player was very often Johnny being upset with himself.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. It's weird to hear. So he would have thrown you the pass, and he probably knew it was a bad pass, forward pass, whatever, and he, whatever way he computed in his brain, I remember him saying it was like he's really upset that he didn't. But his way of
someone else.
Dealing with it would be to attack the fella. So it's he's probably he learned a lot from that course.
You wouldn't change them though. You wouldn't change them. Like competitors like that, they're a rare breed, and you can't have it always. And he was so good. I always thought of there was very little ever taken away from the, what happened on the pitch stayed in the pitch. If you needed a bit of a kiss and make up or a few words were exchanged, you never felt it go, carry throughout the rest of the day, which it would with some guys. Sometimes, things happen out in the pitch and
they bring, and then they're quiet with you for a while.
It takes a bit of time to process, but Johnny was in so many confrontations that he couldn't afford.
He's like a duck to water with it, yeah.
And like you had to bide his time. It took Johnny Saxon a long time to break through to Ireland.
Yeah.
You forget.
Yeah.
Last one then, of the best.
Still on best players.
Maybe I can't count. We more than 3.
I don't know. No.
What do we go? We included Connor because of the box kicks. We threw Johnny in there. Yeah, you're right. You said Issa Nasewa, I think.
Yeah, I remember you always speaking so highly of him.
Just 8 to 9 to 10 out of 10, 30 times a year. Obviously, he was the odd bad game. Excuse me, but the way he applied himself to train and his performances, whether it was in a Heineken Cup final or Dragons away, I'll always remember he was playing against Dragons away and he missed a tackle on a kick chase. And, he missed a tackle, your man's, making a break then. Next thing, it doesn't even make sense that Issa, your man tried to step a few other players, got held up a small bit.
Yeah.
Issa comes and nails him a shot in the back that you wouldn't see in UFC or WWE. But then when you actually, so what you do then is you do camera 2, which is the wider zoom camera. So you miss the tackle. You miss a tackle, you kind of go, and
you little break.
Get back to your feet, and he missed tackle, and it was like something, a rocket went up his arse, and he just sprinted back, and as it just so happened in that instance, he made a big hit, but that clip in and of itself tells you everything you need to know about him. Yeah. Dragons away, probably all the frontliners not there, but him just leading the charge and responding to mistakes like that. And I think, I have so much time for Issa, even now, he's staying in touch, and he's just one of the proper good guys.
What a superstar, Andrew. Thanks for your time. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it, lads. Thank you.
Yeah, we could have talked all night, but
yeah,
we'll have to shoot on. What a man, Andrew Conway. Guest number
2.
Yeah. Of the what?
20, isn't it? It is 20.
What are we called again?
Of the Ireland Rugby Social.
That's it.
That's it.
We'll be back next week.
It's rolling off the tongue.